So now we're going to pretend that this is on the car. We've got this tray. This is where the fabric would be. You can see it's just got some of the cushioning left over. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this tray, and we're going to notice that the trailing edge of the tray has these square notches cut out of it. That's going to go aft, and we'll just put it in. There we go. So I've got that in there now. You're going to line up the little pegs in the little holes, and you'll see that all the screw holes line up. So now you just put in the torque screws and you're ready to go. Alright, so now we're going to assume we've got this in the car. Before we put this metal panel on to finish it, there's an important point that I need to go over, because this caused a lot of problems on my car, and it actually broke a lot of my sliders and I had to redo everything. This panel has a very tight tolerance in terms of the tilt mode, and the panel that I got from BMW, the replacement panel, was bowed out of shape and it broke everything. So this bump stop now, I've got it in the tilt mode, so you can see here, if I go sideways, you can see that slider is now angled. It's in the tilt mode, and what happens is this bump stop goes up just like that. So as this goes up, this tilts up, and this metal tray actually slides back just like that, and you get that little crack open as you're in tilt mode. What's critical is that the gap in here has to be enough so that this can freely move in and out as this thing pivots. Because mine was bowed, it would bind on the bump stop. So the bump stop would go up, this thing would hit it and get stuck, the motor would just sit there and not knowing anything because it doesn't have any type of feedback. It just keeps trying to make this tray go back, and it basically busts all the sliders on both sides because of this bump stop. And I only noticed that when I tried moving the sunroof tray or panel in and out with the roof cover off. So don't immediately put the roof cover on until you've tested the sunroof and know that it works. You can retract it, and that's fine, because when you retract it fully, this bump stop comes down and clamps against this piece, and so does this piece. Alright, so now I've got it in the tilt mode, and you can see it's kind of tilted up over here. So what we want to see is this bump stop. When we're in the tilt mode, this bump stop is going to tilt up as this piece comes up too. So this comes up and this tilts back. And what that does is it allows this tray to slide underneath the bump stop as it opens up that little small crack when you're in tilt mode. And as it closes, this comes down, the bump stop comes down, and then these clamp down tight on this, and all three pieces move back. That's when it's in the retract mode. So one of the first things you can do is you can test the retract mode of your sunroof. So don't put the metal panel on yet. You've got this in the car, it's installed. You've put this from the top of the car in there. Test in retract mode. You see that this comes down and it clamps down, this clamps down. Everything moves back together, everything moves forward together. The next thing you want to test is the tilt mode, and the tolerance of this panel is critical. The one I got from BMW that was recovered was out of tolerance, and it was bowed, and it actually was the source of my problems, because when this bump stop comes back, this has to fit through that gap perfectly, and you can see this one actually does, the old one. Mine was bowed and it would get stuck over here, and when it gets stuck, the motor is going to keep trying to move it back no matter what's going on over here, and because it got stuck, it basically started binding and it broke all the sliders everywhere, and I had to replace them. Because of this $100 panel became a $300 problem. So the only way to do this is to put this on the car. Don't put your metal panel on immediately. Test it first in the full retract mode. If you see that works, now test it in the tilt mode and do it slowly. Press the button and look as you're pressing the button and you see the tray starting to go back. Make sure you've got good clearance. You can even test this. Well, you're not going to be able to test it by hand because you're going to have to hand crank the motor to get this thing to move. So you can do it with the motor on and have electrical power. Just be very careful about what's going on over here. So once you've got that working, you'll see everything is fine. What you will then do is, you've tested it, you know it works, it's in the car, you'll slide it back to about there. That'll give you access to these bolts from inside the car. So you'll put the metal tray on. You're going to first put your 2 torque screws and attach the torque screws from inside the car over there on both sides. Then you'll put in these 3, I believe they're 17mm nuts. Attach the center one first. That'll hold the panel on. Then you just finger tighten each side. Put the panel on. It should be closed. Go outside the car. Adjust these wedges until you get the correct flushness with the roof line. And the same thing is true for tightening these torque screws. And then once you've got everything, you tighten it up and it should be flush. Retract it back and forth a few times and then go back and readjust these to make sure they're exactly how you like it, and you'll get it spot on. It'll be perfectly flush. And what you can do is get a pitcher of water. When it's closed, go around and pour water to see how much gets into the little channel over here to see how tight your seal is. And that's all you'll need to do. So that hopefully answers your questions. Now I'll show you the car and you'll see it, the working one. This is the broken one. I'm going to throw this in trash once I'm done showing you guys this. I just figured I'd make some use out of the broken one before I chuck it into the trash. Oh, another thing is that this whole cassette is about $800 if you're going to buy it new. So the cabling in this one is kind of messed up, and they don't sell you just the cassette with the cables but nothing else attached to it. You have to buy the whole assembly. Has to come from Germany, takes 4 weeks, costs $800. So be very careful and make sure that you do not break this. And if you do, try to find a used one. That's what I did. I found a used one, stripped it, cleaned it, and it's good as new once you're done. Alright, so here's the car. Now it's time to put up or shut up. And if you look over here, you can now see that the sunroof fits perfectly flush with the roof line of the car. And when I got a pitcher of water and poured it around there, it's actually more watertight than it was when I originally got the car. And I did nothing other than to align it correctly. So now let's actually make it work. Alright, so if I press the button now, you'll see that the sunroof retracts. And now it's fully opened. You can see the tracks are nice and clean. Everything's been greased properly. We've got that piece which I showed you and how it works exactly. So there it is. Now it's open. Now let's go ahead and close it. Notice also it closes very easily and smoothly. Almost effortlessly, and it's very easy on the motor. And there you have it. Everything's closed perfectly. Now let's make it tilt. And there you go. You can see we've got it tilted. We've got a nice even gap on both sides when it's open in tilt mode. Camera doesn't want to focus. There we go. Got nice and even on both sides. And if we look from the inside, we can see that the fabric has gone back exactly the amount it should. And if I press the button again, everything is closed and nice and smooth on the roof. So it's really very easy. You just have to play around with it till you fully understand how the mechanisms work, but once you get it, it's not hard at all. So hopefully that helped you.